Okay, I have another video to play while I read from the Universal One, a very short chapter called The Formula of the Locked Potentials. And it begins with, well, let me show you these. I want to show you this. I'll move it over here. Okay. Those numbers. Now put it back where you see, oops, the video. Okay, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Those are on the plus side. 1 minus 2 minus 3 minus 4. And that is the formula, believe it or not. Now must be constructed the cosmic clock, by means of which all dimension may be measured by one formula, as time is measured by the formula of hours, minutes, and seconds. Heretofore it has been written down that periodicity is an absolute characteristic of all effects of motion. With two exceptions, all dimensions of all effects of motion are of the same orderly octave periodicity. These two exceptions are of cyclic periodicity. Octave periodicity is an orderly progression to and from the maximum effect of each octave. Cyclic periodicity is an orderly progression to and from the maximum effect of the entire cycle. Thus, may it now be simply stated that all periodicities of all motion of whatever nature, with two exceptions, may be built up on the following extremely simple formula: 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. The two exceptions to this octave periodicity are mass and tone. Mass means weight, tone means sound. Mass accumulates all down the entire 10 octaves. Tone lowers from the highest note down the cosmic keyboard to the lowest. The 0 represents inertial energy, and the numerals represent the orderly progression in locked potentials and pressures and orbits. Thinking mind has devised these orderly progressions as its method of evolving the ideal of universal thinking into the appearance of form and devolving it into the disappearance of form. The numerals of this formula are the hours of the cosmic clock. They are in the relative positions of the atoms of the elements and in the order of their respective varying dimensions. The seconds of the cosmic clock are the corpuscles, or light units, which make up the atom's structure. The hands of the clock are the indicating line of charging and discharging potential. The mainspring is the 10-octave cycle. 5 of these octaves are decelerating time dimensions transformed by accumulation into power, and the other 5 octaves are power dimension released into accelerating time. The winding of the clock is the sublime 5-octave inhalation, and its unwinding is its 5-octave exhalation. The cosmic pendulum, in its swinging, ticks off the varying dimensions of all motion forever and forever with unfailing accuracy, but never does it depart from this simple formula. One by one, the relator will take up and analyze the 18 dimensions of the effects of motion. Neither temperature, nor balance, nor orbit, nor color, nor ionization, nor electric force, nor magnetic force, nor any effect of chemistry known to man, or still to become known, none of these, nor other herein unnamed, excepting mass and tone, can extend beyond this simple formula. It is meant that this simple formula of vast import should have a name, so that it may be referred to it in proper terminology. The formula of locked potentials shall be the name by which this formula shall hereafter be known. Now must the simplest but the greatest of all laws of the universe be written down. Everything that is of everything else that is. Nothing is of itself alone. All created things are indissolubly united. This is the law of the entire substance of divine mind. This is the law of the soul of things. This is the law of love. This is the law of the oneness of the universe. All that is one. There is not two independently separate things in the entire universe. Everything is, individuality is non-existent. Individuality is but an appearance of separability and divisibility in a universe which is non-separable and non-divisible. No one can say, I alone am I. If one should say, I am I, he must say also to all men and all creating things, I am thou, and thou art also I. The oneness of the universe is the sublimely simple one spiritual substance of divine mind. The one substance of mind is a living substance of the one living thinking being of which all things in this universe are part, and to which they are indissolubly united. Light is that which makes of the one substance a living substance. Light is the life principle of mind. Light is the creating force of the universe. Light is all that is. Light is the living God. God is manifesting in light. Light is the Holy Spirit, God, Father, Mother, nature, man, the oak, the rolling hills and the mountain chains, the pounding sea and the sands of the sea, the babbling brook, the red apple hanging on the tree, the autumn haze, the storm, the stars in the heavens, the blade of grass, and the kindly dew in the opening rose. All creating things are dependent upon light to hold them together in the appearance of individually separate things. As light is the substance of all things, and all things are dependent on light, all things are therefore interdependent. All are continuously interchanging by reproduction throughout the universe in continuity. No one created thing has time, nor place, nor position in idea. The ideal of all creating things is universal. It is omnipresent as ideal throughout the entirety of mind, but the counterpart of ideal in all creating things is sequential in time and place. The counterpart of ideal is the reproduced ideal. The reproduced ideal is a part of the basic ideal. This is a universe of reproduction. Production and reproduction of ideal of thinking mind is the sole result of thinking and the sole reason for thinking. Ideal and reproduction of ideal are universal in sequences as states of motion are universal in sequence. Ideal and reproduction of ideal are multiplied as appearances in motion in opposition, of which the pulsations of thinking mind are the cause. There is no other cause, there is no other motion. Each ideal and each reproduced counterpart of ideal has but the appearance of time and place and position, from which it does not appear to depart. Still it is of all the universe a part. The rose blooming in my garden is of Arcturus, a part as it is of you and me. The universe sways to the sway-in of the rose in my garden. Every particle of matter in this universe has its own magnetic pole through which it is connected with the magnetic pole of each other particle of matter in the universe, and through which each particle is affected by the ever-changing condition of every other particle in the universe. This is a universe of equilibrium in motion, the continuity of which could not be maintained except through the interdependence of all apparently separated units. Everything that is of everything else that is. Nothing is of itself alone. All created things are indissolubly united. All is God, and God is all. God is light, light is all. Creation is the sublime ideal of the sublime being. The sublime is always simple. With creation, simplicity seems to end and complexity to begin. Complexity belongs to creating things. Man's outer mind is a heavy and complex mind. It knows not the sublimity of simplicity. The inner mind of man is attuned to the elastic meter of divine thinking. The inner mind of man knows the sublimity of deific simplicity. The inner mind of man knows light. Everything that is of everything else that is. Nothing is of itself alone. The perfume of the rose is part of the rose, as it is also a part of man, and of the winds, and of the garden wall. The perfume of the rose is light, as the rose is light, and so also is man, and the winds, and the garden wall. All that is light. Nothing is of itself alone. He who knows this greatest of all laws knows love. Love is a realization of the oneness of the universe. Love is the ecstasy of inspired thinking. God's thinking is ecstatic thinking. God is love. Until man knows from within his inner mind this law of the oneness of all things, it has no meaning for him. When man knows this law in his heart, he will have no limitations. When man knows this law so that its reaction within the soul of man is that of ecstatic, inspired contemplation, he will then begin to know the meaning of love. Unlimited power will then be his. His thinking will be true thinking. All power is in true thinking. Thinking true may be likened unto a violin string sounded by the great master. 10,000 other strings tuned to the same pitch would sing in unison, unplayed upon. 10,000 other strings not so attuned would not know the ecstasy. They would be as though they were not. Inspired thinking is thinking in tune with divinity. Inspired thinking is thinking in exact pitch with the high octaves of divine thinking. The rhythm of light in the high octaves of light is the measure of true pitch and true thinking. True thinking of the inner mind makes true thinking of the outer mind. The outer mind thinks not in ecstatic measure. As a man thinks in his inner mind, so is he. The inner mind, within all men and within all things, is divine mind. The inner mind of man is tuned to the higher speeds of ecstatic thinking. Man may know the ecstasy of his own divine thinking if he will but tune his thinking to the high speeds or ecstatic meter of divine mind, which is within all men and all things. When man will so attune his thinking, then will he think in light. Let me turn that off. Then I'll put this back over here. Then will he think in light. And let me see, where was I? When man will so attune his thinking, then will he think in light. The inner mind of man alone can think in light. Inner thinking is ecstatic thinking. The outer mind of man cannot know light. The outer mind cannot know ecstasy. When man thinks in light, he will then know the perfection of divine ideal. He will be universal genius. Imperfection of ideal cannot exist. Lost my place. Okay. Imperfection of ideal cannot exist. The entire ideal of thinking mind is good. There is no evil. There is no imperfection. That which man calls the created universe is the ideal of thinking mind. The ideal of mind is perfect as mind in itself is perfect. Perfection of ideal is truth. Imperfection of ideal is electromagnetically impossible in this universe of equilibrium, as we shall see later chapters of this book. True thinking in light will give to man all power. He will have no limitations except those that are universal. With his feet on the electrodes of the universe and his eyes on the high heavens, impossibilities of yesterday will be simple, achievements of today. With this knowledge from within, man can have dominion over all nature and all things. Man can have dominion over his own body and command it to health and to beauty and to comeliness. With the realization of this law in his heart, he will love and be loved of all men and all creating things, and he will know all things. All knowledge will come to man when he knows this law in his heart. All knowledge exists. Thinking man has all knowledge. Inspired man knows the law of love in his heart with the oneness of the universe. All knowledge is existent in the universe and is the inheritance of thinking man from divine mind, God, and Father of man, and of all creating things. This inheritance of all knowing awaits every man to use as and when he desires that knowledge. And the very next chapter, which I won't do in this one, is going to be called Omnipresence. And let me show you some of the charts that went by. Okay, this is a chart, one of them. It's really hard to read all of that's on this. And here's another chart. And there's the clock, the cosmic clock, with its plus 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 0, 4, 3, 2, 1. I can't explain that too well, but I read it as best I could. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will continue reading this tomorrow. This is the Dove Lady, over and out for now.